Hello, somebody. It's Joel with Godwin Realty, and you're now tuned in to Inside the Trenches on ESPN New Orleans.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to Inside the Trenches. It's your host, Marlon Favorite. And as promised, on the Small Sliders hotline, we have Mario Jerez, baby, ESPN New Orleans. He has the Pod Pals Kitchen. Y'all make sure y'all follow my brother Mario at Mario_E_Jerez on X. Mario, man, we got to get these Saints OTA observations out of you, man. But the first observation that seemed like got out of you, man, it's pretty hot out there, huh?
Yes, it is hot. I was just telling you before the show, man. I can't imagine being in pads, hitting right now in this heat because I am dying just from standing out there for the last hour. So, yes, sunny day, beautiful day, but definitely feeling the heat.
And, yeah, even this evening, man, it's still hot here. It's just, boy, I appreciate those days because of, like, you know, you're sweating off 7-8 pounds of, like, toxins and liquids out of your body. So the post weigh-in after practice always was light. So that was cool. But, you know, for those guys and even us reporters headed out there, you know, we had to make sure we hydrated.
Yeah, you got to, man. It reminds me of going to the D-line camp at Thibodeau back in the day. Ate like a bunch of pizza and cheeseburgers and other high-caloric foods and still lost like 10 pounds. That's what these guys are going through.
That's exactly what's going on. So, Mario, let's dive right into it. Saints OTAs. The fans are excited for the season. Some new faces out there. But in terms of attendance, right, earlier today, any new faces out there? I know they had a lot of guys missing the first week of OTAs, but anybody showed up at practice that wasn't there last week?
I believe Jamal Williams may not have been here last week. That's the only name that's coming from the top of mind. Other than that, it looked a lot like it did last week. You know, the veteran guys that are always here, still there. Tyrann Mathieu, Cam Jordan, and I kind of like their behavior at practice too. The older guys seem to really be upbeat and bring the energy. But other than that, it looked a lot like it did last week. Still no Alvin Kamara. Still no Marshon Lattimore. Would love to see Kool-Aid McKinstry out here, but he's not ready to go yet as well. So attendance-wise, still looks a lot like it did last week. But guys are in good spirits. Like the rookies, other guys that are kind of learning new roles seem to be a little bit more comfortable or playing a little bit more loose during practice. But attendance-wise, it looks very similar as it did last week.
Okay, when you look at the players, right, we have some new faces via draft. I'll start on the offensive line. This is Inside the Trenches. How Fuaga look out there today?
O-linemen look good, all of them. Fuaga's a big boy, man. You definitely can see the first-round intangibles, or the measurables, I should say, when it comes to the Saints' first-round pick. But he's moving well. Trevor Penning's still running with the ones. A lot of questions about Trevor Penning, maybe the most important player for the Saints on either side of the football this season. So you know there will be attention on him. And Isaiah Foskey, actually, from what I saw, had a good day today. Towards the end when they were doing the team drill, 7-on-7, whatever it was, he got a sack against Spencer Rattler, or it would have been a sack at least. You know, no contact in these practices. But offensive linemen, at least out there and healthy. We talked about kind of the shuffling they're doing last week with Penning and Fuaga being out there. But amongst the defensive linemen, I would say Isaiah Foskey had a good day, and hopefully it's something that replicates in the games this season.
Yeah, last year when we look at Foskey coming on his team, he had like a sack record coming from Notre Dame. We wanted to add some more pass rushers on our roster, but he was a little slow to catch on to the speed of the NFL. We didn't really start seeing him get snaps till towards the end of the season. Even though he did record a half a sack last year, that's still production and that still builds his confidence. I'm going to stay along that defensive line. I am excited for year 2 of Brian Bresee. I mean, last year, 4.5 sacks for interior lineman, a former interior lineman. Those numbers are really decent. Your thoughts on the interior line, starting with Brian Bresee?
Yeah, I think it's okay for Saints fans to be excited for year 2 of Bresee. Somebody who really stands out immediately. Posted on Sports Hangover. We're talking before practice today and said, you know, a lot of people say you can't learn too much from these practices, but you can quite literally see how the team looks right? Like what guys are in good shape, what guys are maybe not in good shape. Packages introduced that maybe weren't there last year, personnel grouping, things like that. And just looking at Brian Bresee, he really stands out. You see the size that got him the production that he got last year, and now coming into year two, I think his fundamentals will be a lot better. I think you'll see the Saints be a little bit more creative with Brian Bresee. And we're not seeing too much of that during OTAs, but interior stunts, moving him around a little bit, showing off a little bit more of his athleticism now that he has the technique down a little bit coming into year two. I'm really excited for Brian Bresee. We were just talking about Foskey. Hopefully he makes any kind of impact after making very little as a rookie. But Brian Bresee is somebody who had a good rookie season, who can have a really big jump in production in year number two. I'm excited to see how the Saints utilize him, hopefully a little bit better here in his second year in the NFL.
I thought it was very interesting how they had the rotation last year on the front line defensively. You had Carl Granderson had probably the most productive year of his career here in the NFL. You started your veterans, so you went with Saunders, you went with Shepard, and you had Brian Bresee rotate in on that defensive line. So I thought that was key. And then last year, from a technical standpoint, it wasn't the best year for Cam Jordan in terms of sacks, but he impacted the game so many different ways. He impacted it from the perspective of being able to make the ball bounce the other way, holding his point on the run game, so on and so forth. So I thought he did a good job. If y'all are just tuning in, it's Inside the Trenches with your boy Marlon Favorite joining me on the Small Sliders Hotline. I have Mario Jerez. Y'all make sure y'all follow Mario on X at Mario_E_Jerez. I just technically earlier today, Mario had put out some content of the Saints practicing and look hot through the pictures on my X, so I reposted that. So if you want to not get sunburn like some of the other folks out there attending, you can always check out Mario's Twitter, and he will get you on point. Mario, I want to stay along the defensive line. Christian Boyd, we drafted him in the 6th round this year. He has the size you look for in an interior lineman. He comes from a smaller school. How is he adjusting to the speed of the NFL based off the practices you saw?
Oh, man. He looks pretty good out there, at least so far. Like I said, I think once we get closer to, mandatory mini camp, training camp, we see a little bit more diversity with the defensive coaches and what they're calling. You'll learn a little bit more. But so far, he's looking pretty good, looking like he belongs. And we were just talking about Foskey. There will be more reps for a lot of these young guys, I think, with some of the people that the Saints let go. Zach Bond came on a little bit towards the end last year. He's not with the Saints anymore, signing with Philadelphia. So I think specifically when it comes to pass rushing, those third down packages, there will be some opportunity, maybe even for a guy like Boyd. So I'm excited to see, hopefully, he step up and earn some reps along this defensive line. I think you can count on a much more productive season from Cam Jordan this year. I think the injury misfortune was just a little bit too extreme last year. That being said, he is getting towards the end, and some of these young guys are going to eventually have some opportunities. So hopefully that starts this season with guys like Boyd at the defensive end position.
I do care about that rotation, just being on some really good defensive lines throughout my career. That's one thing that was helpful even for your superstar players, and mainly for the coaches, when you can have 8 to 12 guys you can rotate in on a defensive front, and the skill set don't drop down. I think when you look at it from that perspective, that's something that's super important. In addition to not only the aspect of production up front, you want to make sure that you, how could I say this? You pair the right groups together based off of how the game is going. So you may start off with your starters, right? Let's say, for instance, this year, Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson, Saunders, and Shepard, right? But it may be some parts of the game where it's probably good to have, might be heavy run in the middle, so you might want to bring in like a a Brian Bresee and a Khalid Saunders just because those guys are beefy. Hey, well, it's Inside the Trenches. We have Mario Jerez on the line. We're going to wrap this hour, but Mario going to stick around with us. And this time, we're going to talk a little bit about the coaching staff, how they're adjusting. Some of them have to adjust to the heat. It's a little hotter down here in New Orleans, Coach. And we're going to spend a little time on some of the superstars on offense. Y'all don't go anywhere. We'll be back with another hour of Inside the Trenches right here on ESPN New Orleans. Hello, somebody. Watch out there now.
It's your girl, Spice Divas, the marketing diva, and you're tuned into Inside the Trenches with my boy, Marlon Favorite on ESPN 100.3 FM New Orleans. Hello, somebody.